Hello, and thank you for having me today. My name's Jim Zemlin. I'm the Executive Director of the Linux Foundation. And I'm coming to you today from Big Sur, California, where I'm in a wonderful place with my family and very happy to be with all of you today. You know, these are difficult times. The pandemic has thrown our global society into a health crisis. We see economic crisis also resulting from that. And it seems like every day there's conflict all over the world. But one thing I want to remind all of you today is that open source is one of these great movements where collaboration, working together, getting along is the very essence of what we do. That open source is not a zero-sum game, but it has had an incredible impact on all of us in a very net positive way. I'd like to remind everyone that open source is a freely available public good that will be available to everyone at any time, all around the world, no matter what the winds of political or economic change bring us. And the Linux Foundation is dedicated to all of that. Today, we're working hard to help folks during hard times, expanding our mentorship programs with over $250,000 in new donations to allow opportunity for people to come in and train themselves on new skills during this tough time. We've had a wonderful set of virtual events with thousands of people from hundreds of companies and countries from all over the world working together. We want to bring the power of open source to help during these times and have a number of new initiatives that we're working on. Most notably, our recently launched Linux Foundation Public Health Initiative, which has started with 7 premier members: Cisco, doc.ai, Geometer, IBM, Nearform, Tencent, and VMware, and is hosting exposure notification projects such as COVID Shield and COVID Green, which are currently being deployed in Canada, Ireland, and several U.S. states to help find and reduce the spread of COVID-19. In addition, we've been working on a huge number of new initiatives, which I'll talk about. But I'd like to start with reminding you about what we're all here to talk about, which is cloud computing and how much cloud computing has impacted all of us. Microservices is an important part of that. And in China, what we're seeing is the Taurus project, a microservices framework, really taking off. 2 years ago, Taurus joined the Linux Foundation, and ever since, the community has been growing and new projects and contributors have been coming in. The Taurus project provides a mature, high-performance microservices framework that supports multiple programming languages. We will talk more about the Taurus Foundation in a little bit, but the microservices ecosystem has been growing, and it's quickly turning application and ideas into scale. In addition to Taurus, we've been seeing amazing work going on in the open source community, starting with things such as the Software Package Data Exchange specification, which was recently contributed as an international specification to the ISO IEC JTC1 for approval. This will help all of us track the usage of open source software across a complex global supply chain, and once again reaffirms our commitment to a global movement. In addition, we've seen growth in projects with recent releases, such as in our networking projects with the Open Network Automation Platform's Frankfurt release, which is being used to automate the networks and edge computing services for telecommunications providers, cloud providers, and enterprises. We've seen new projects join our organization. One good example is MLflow. This project was contributed to our organization from Databricks. This is a project that has had an impressive community of over 200 contributors that have been and it has been downloaded more than 2 million times. MLflow, as part of the Linux Foundation AI initiative, is going to be a neutral home with an open governance model to help broaden the adoption and contributions of things like MLflow. We've also seen new projects come to our organization, such as the Finos Foundation, a consortium of financial services companies working together to help grow the use of open source throughout our global financial system. It's been amazing to see all the different projects that have been coming, but today what I'd like to do is formally introduce the TARS Foundation. TARS has been an amazing project, and in just the last few years, I've noticed that developers here in China are for the first time incubating and sharing new open source projects, not just here in China, but in the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is watching the project of that open source project and seeing all the amazing work and are so proud of the work that is coming out of TARS. And you know, just like the Linux Foundation is more than Linux, the TARS Foundation is more about TARS, more than just TARS. It's a microservices ecosystem. Unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to cancel the Linux Foundation Member Summit this spring and were unable to announce the TARS Foundation at that time. But today, the Linux Foundation is proud to announce, again, the TARS project has become the TARS Foundation, an open source microservice foundation within the overall framework of the Linux Foundation. And its outcome has been rapid growth for both the TARS project and projects associated with TARS. TARS has really taken off, and it's just amazing to see the amount of development, and we hope that the TARS Foundation will create a neutral home for additional projects, for solving major problems around microservices, including but not limited to agile development, DevOps best practices, and this comprehensive governance that we have will enable a multi-language, high-performance, scalable solution. So it is my pleasure to present what the TARS Foundation has achieved in the open source community. There are many companies whose contributions are instrumental in establishing the TARS microservices ecosystem, and the TARS Foundation is proof of that. Currently, the TARS Foundation has ARM, Tencent as premier members, and 5 general members, Aftership, Ampere, AP17, Kong, and Zenlayer. In terms of TARS applications, it's serving more than 100 companies from different industries, including edge, esport, fintech, streaming, e-commerce, entertainment, telecommunications, education, and more. Furthermore, the TARS Foundation is striving to expand its microservices ecosystem and is incorporating more functions such as testing, gateway, and edge, to name a few. So far, the TARS Foundation has more than 30 projects. Developers around the world are really starting to realize the TARS project is amazing and are contributing as such. There are more than 12,000 developers actively using TARS. In addition, 150 developers contributing code to TARS projects from companies such as ARM, Tencent, Google, Microsoft, VMware, WeBank, TAL, China Literature, iFlyTech, Longview Game, and many more. The amazing folks from TARS are here to join us to talk and share more information about that. I'd like to now turn things over to my good friend Mark from Tencent, who's the chairman of the board of the TARS Foundation. He's going to give us a talk about TARS. I want to thank you all again. I wish you were all here with me, but I'm so glad to be joining you all virtually today. Together, we're going to do great things. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mark. Thank you.